Hello, everyone. I'm very happy and lucky to have with us a computer science engineer who is trying to improve India's education. We have with us Robin Keshaw. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Robin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mathur, for introducing me and giving me this opportunity. My name is Robin. I have been working with an organization called Dream a Dream. It's a non-profit based out of Bangalore, but its work is in different states. Essentially, the work which we are trying to do is to improve the public education system in India through a very unique approach where large-scale initiatives can embed social emotional learning so that like the students who are going into the government schools or the low-income private schools are really able to develop life skills in order to thrive in this world.
Okay.
Um,
Tell us how you came here.
Yeah, by degree, I'm an computer science engineer. I did my engineering from BITS Pilani, but I worked as a software engineer for almost 2 years. But then there was something amiss in the work which I was doing as a software engineer. That's when I decided to do a fellowship, which is called Teach for India Fellowship. It's a full 2-year long program where every individual who is the part of the fellowship is to teach inside a low-income classroom. It can be a government school, it can be a low-income private school, it can be an NGO school as well. So I was given a school in the north of Delhi. It's very close to one of the largest vegetable market in Asia. It's called Azadpur Sabji Mandi, and most of the students, my children whom I taught, were from the community of vegetable sellers. Most of them were migrants from UP, Bihar, and nearby states. And that's where exactly I started understanding what exactly education means, for the disadvantaged sections of the society. That during that fellowship itself, I really got an idea of my own privilege and how that privilege has kind of obscured me from understanding the grim realities of our country and our society. So during those 2 years, I really like I went in this fellowships thinking that probably I would be able to change the lives of the students whom I am going to teach, but fundamentally it changed me from within. And that's when I decided that my life's mission is going to improve the education system, specifically the public education system, which caters to more than 250 million students in our country.
Yeah. So was it with the loss of income, right?
It was a substantial loss of income.
Right. So,
but I don't regret it.
You don't regret it. So tell us what you do now.
Yes. What I'm trying to do right now, in my current position, I'm working very, very closely with the Education Minister's office in Delhi. The setup which is currently is in Delhi is that Delhi has been trying to improve the condition of the government schools for quite a long time, and which also is a fertile ground for introducing new ideas, new initiatives, something which has never been tried out earlier. And that's where it requires people like us who can come in with fresh energy, fresh ideas, and are able to work with an entire ecosystem, which includes not just the government stakeholders, which is the bureaucracy, the mid-level bureaucracy, the school principal, the teachers, but as well as the ecosystem also includes different non-profit organizations, different NGOs, different universities, who are able to come together to create initiatives which is going to be helpful for the students and are able to prepare them for facing the challenges of the 21st century skills. So my current focus area has been in setting up of two institutions within the government's umbrella. One of them is called Delhi Board of School Education, and the other is School of Specialized Excellence. Both of them are targeted. Both of them are housed within the government setup, which means that it brings own set of challenges in trying out new ideas, because government has to follow a certain procedure, has to follow what we typically call the bureaucracy in order to move things around. But that's my current role. It has been 3 years since both of these institutions have been set up, and I'm actively contributing, working very closely with the stakeholders to kind of keep continually improving the education system out here.
Yeah, I'd heard that Delhi has set up specialized schools at the upper level. Can you tell us about that?
Definitely. So when the idea of specialized schools actually came from the problem statement that what exactly is the purpose of the education, and what exactly is the purpose of the secondary education, which we which is typically from ninth class to 12th class. And some of the challenges which the then education minister Manish Sisodia was like very was very passionate about, is that are we really preparing the students for a world outside the school? Are we really helping students to become critical thinkers? Are we really helping them to become compassionate individuals? Are we really providing them an education which they need versus something which we think is useful for the students? So considering all of these questions, like the problem statement ultimately came down to one single thing: how do we create an education system which is aligned to the interest and the aptitude of the students, and is able to prepare students for a world outside the school. Now, world outside the school means it can be any pathway which the student chooses. They may choose to work right after the school, which we see in case of many of the students passing out of government school. They can choose to be entrepreneurs. They can choose to actually study in higher education institutions. But can they really aim for the premier institutes rather than what is typically bracketed, that government school students would be going into a certain kind of institutes rather than aiming for the premium colleges like IITs, AIMS, etc. So that was the entire problem statement, and that led to this creation of a specialized school, which has four major verticals. One is that the curriculum inside these schools are actually targeted are actually created and crafted as per the needs and the abilities of the student. So, for example, right now the current the way the current school system has been designed in specialized schools, it spans across six major verticals. One of them is STEM. The second is humanities. The third is performing and visual arts. Fourth is high-end 21st century skills. Fifth is armed forces preparatory school, and sixth is sports school. Now, the idea was very simple, that if a student who is interested in studying music, or is interested in going into the field of robotics, or is more interested in pursuing a career in humanities, say things like lawyer, journalism, or is interested in becoming an engineer or a medical professional, why are we providing them an education which is standardized across? So even if a child who is wanting to who is very good at visual arts, but the same child has to still study all the science, all the maths, all the English, Hindi, social sciences, which is students who are more interested in sports is going to study. So this specialized school, the first focus is on morphing the curriculum in a way that it is catering to the students' interest. So what happens is, when a student gets admitted in one of the schools, say for example, performing and visual arts school, in 9th and 10th, the students are still studying all the foundational subjects, which are English, Hindi, science, maths, social sciences. But along with those, they are also studying, for example, a music student, they are studying two music subjects as part of their mainstream curriculum, not like a hobby class. They are studying for more than an hour daily these music subjects. Similarly, if a student has opted for armed forces preparation, so along with studying all the foundational subjects, the students are also studying how to crack an SSB exam, how to how to crack the written exam for NDA. So the entire setup of the specialized schools is created in a way where in 9th and 10th, students focus on the curriculum which is aligned to their interest. In 11th and 12th, they dive much deeper into a particular stream and gain more expertise into it. So first thing is the curriculum, which sets these schools apart. The second thing is the assessment. And that's where I also would want to bring in the setting up of Delhi Board of School Education. Delhi government has set up this new board so that it's able to also change the assessment so that it is able to cater to the aptitude and needs of the student. For example, like even if we are teaching students fashion in 9th and 10th, it doesn't make any sense to assess them on just English, Hindi, science, maths, etc. There needs to be an assessment which is actually assessing them on their understanding of fashion, the skills which they have developed, the learning outcomes of the fashion subjects, or for that matter, robotics subject. Similarly, for sports, like we are training students to become a good table tennis player, but ultimately at the end of the day, they are judged, they are examined on how much of science concepts they have crammed up. So, there is a fundamental shift in the way assessment is done in these schools, so that it is, catering to what students have been learning as part of their curriculum. The third is on the teacher training, the kind of teachers, the resource persons, the professional expertise which have been brought in to teach these new age subjects. That's something which didn't exist earlier. So, for example, teaching for foundational subjects, there are teachers, government teachers, and they have been trained again and again. Government has actually struck a partnership with International Baccalaureate, IBs, which is considered one of the most expensive school system in the world. But government has done an MOU, and it's providing the IB curriculum and assessment in these government schools free of cost to all the students. And IB also mandates a lot of teacher training, helping them understand what is inquiry-based learning, etc., etc. But in order to teach the new age subjects, there are different resource person which come to these schools. So, for example, government has have around 13 partnerships with institutes like IIT Delhi, Ashoka University, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So let me give you an example of, say, robotics and coding, which is where IIT Delhi is the knowledge partner. So the curriculum has been developed by IIT Delhi. The assessment is developed by IIT Delhi. And IIT Delhi also provides specialized resource persons who come every day to the school and teach them coding, robotics, etc. So the third focus area is essentially transforming the pedagogy inside the classroom, the way the curriculum is being taught. And the fourth biggest shift is also not just leaving the students to just teach the to learn the skills of a particular subject or the outcomes of a particular subject, but also helping them through this journey. Like in higher secondary, in higher secondary, students are at a point of time where they are also trying to understand their own identity. They are trying to make sense of this world. They are going through different kind of physiological changes. So it becomes very difficult for them also to kind of navigate in this world's complexity. So in the specialized schools, we have introduced a lot of efforts towards helping students get prepared for a world outside the school. One of them is counseling. Like we have provided dedicated counselors who can help students navigate through this. In 11th and 12th, students have the opportunity to do internship, even if it's unpaid internship. But never before had that such kind of thing been tried in a public education system, where students are actually going to to real industry setup and understanding what they have learned inside the classroom. So, for example, the students from the finance and accounting course, they go to CA firms. They actually learn what it means to file GST. They actually learn the nuances and integrity of the entire taxation system. Similarly, if students are learning, say, for example, they are part of a legal studies curriculum. So it's not just that they are, learning legal studies inside the classroom. They are taken to district courts, different lawyers, different advocates. They take master classes for them. Different subject experts, come and give them a broader idea of, what exactly is happening. So, for example, students who are part of filmmaking, they went to a week-long trip to Whistling Woods International in Mumbai, where they actually got to interact with Subhash Ghai, who is the founder of Whistling Woods International, and actually learned the nitty-gritty of what filmmaking means. Similarly, for the music students, there were bands from Zimbabwe, Laos, who came and performed inside these schools, so that they are also able to make sense of, because what this really helps students is to understand, not just the nuances of music, but what exactly the current world is moving towards. So students now understand that, just learning music is not enough. Understanding music technology is very important. Understanding event management is very important, so that they are able to become professional in that particular field. So these are the four major shifts which we are trying to bring in the specialized schools. And it's a long way to go, but there has been a good start.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to listen to somebody whose feet are on the ground to understand what is happening, what is the potential. Is this exportable to large states, or can it only work in Delhi? And before that, I want to ask a question.
Yes.
Is there any difference between boys and girls in this? The response or the offerings, or how do you see it? So two questions.
There
One, is
is.
it exportable? And one, whether it's exportable or not, is there any observed or preconceived difference between boys and girls?
Sure. I would like to answer the second part first. So my answer to that would be, there is, but it also has shown us that there is an opportunity, and I will elaborate both of these points. So where exactly the difference comes in is in the typical societal mindset around it. So for example, we have seen that, so for example, STEM schools are focused more on helping students prepare for competitive exams for engineering and medical. The thought behind STEM schools was that, children who don't have the financial means are not able to get into the premier institutes, because there is this whole paraphernalia of coaching institutes which
Right.
requires lakhs and lakhs of money. So
Yeah.
we'll hardly see, children of rickshaw puller going into an IIT. There are few odd cases which we would like to celebrate around, but that's very devoid of the reality.
Yeah.
Um, so in STEM schools, actually the top-notch coaching institute, Vidya Mandir classes, is providing coaching inside the school setup. And it is able to do that because it's part of the Delhi board of a school. So, the board doesn't have an issue with saying that, okay, whatever is required for a JE preparation, let's make that a part of the mainstream curriculum. So what we have seen, coming back to the question of boys versus girls, what we have seen that, typically most of the girls would opt for NEET exam, which is preparing them for medical, while boys will typically opt for engineering. And same comes out in a way in form of the results also. Like typically, like most of the students who qualify the JE exam, which is preparing them for engineering colleges, are boys. Let me take another example of fashion. Fashion is widely understood as something which would be taken up by girls only. But there are many boys in our schools who wanted to pursue passion, but because of societal familial pressure, they are not able to. Similarly, in music or visual arts, it's typically understood that, or humanities for that matter, it's typically like understood that the girls would be, and some kind of normal distribution we are also seeing in these schools. But I will tell you about the opportunity part also, that we are seeing the shifts also, even if those shifts are not tectonic, but they are marginal shifts which are helping us really understand that there is no gendered lens to education. So I know of a girl, Divya, in one of the schools, who is really passionate about building machines, and she has taken up robotics as her specialization. There is this guy Rahul in one of these schools who is really passionate about um, uh, you know uh, I think it's called Gothic fashion or something. Yeah, I don't remember the exact term, but he's really passionate about, and that's where he wanted to build his career about. So we are really seeing the shift, and that makes me and the larger system also understand that probably the way we have bracketed all of these learning areas, um, like students of this age, this 21st century are not, don't want to be bracketed under those. They are really wanted to pursue their passion. Um, so my answer to the first question would be that it is definitely exportable. And in fact, and I'm saying that because there are shifts which we have already started observing. So Punjab has really taken up this idea. Punjab is trying out something on very similar lines. Madhya Pradesh has also, doing something on similar lines, different in terms of objectives, different in terms of the end outcomes, but but the idea being that if can students be provided an education which is aligned to their aptitude and skills, it's something which has started simmering up. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult for three primary reasons, as I see. One is the the political will, which leads to a lot of investment of resources, because these schools, as shiny, as lucrative they sound, they still require a lot of investment, and that's one of the reasons why Delhi government is also not able to scale it beyond. They are targeting, there would be 100 out of 1,000 schools which would be specialized schools. So that is one of the big challenge there. There has to be enough political will, enough sustained political will, and there has to be enough investment. Second is the geography. Like in these schools, within the first 3 years itself, we have realized that it's very difficult to find good resource persons. Person who is able to teach robotics at a level where like students are able to enter into robotics competitions, or they are able to teach legal studies in a way that they are able to really help them prepare for law examination. So there are systemic constraints in terms of availability of the resources, in different. There are geographical constraints also. It's very difficult to imagine that in one of the remote part of Chhattisgarh, we'll find a plethora of professionals who are able to teach many of these subjects. So that's the second part. Third is also is that the way our society is designed, the parents, the immediate family members of the parents, the teachers, they also come from a legacy mindset. In their mind, not all of them are really looking into the big picture of what is going to help the students. So what exactly that translates into, that most of the students would be are probably still forced to take up science, even if it's not something which they like. There are many students, like many students I have interacted with, who really wanted to pursue visual arts, and they took visual arts in 9th and 10th. But after parental pressure, they had to shift to a science school, because they said like visual arts there won't be enough employment opportunity. So like shifting this societal mindset to actually like create an education system, that also requires like really playing hard and playing for a long-term impact. So because of these three constraints, I think the export is going to be difficult. However, that's entirely possible, and in coming years we'll see that it's going to be like taken by many other states.
Okay, since you interact so much with young people, what kind of tips do you have for young people who might be watching this?
For young people,
College people,
yeah,
basically 11th and 12th.
yeah,
Not the kind of people who are, disadvantaged, but who are a little bit better off, but confused. Because I have
right.
talked to so many and they all said they were confused. So, do you
Okay,
have any tips for them?
let me start from that word confusion. I think it's really okay to be confused. Even I am confused right now. I am like I sound very confident, but at this juncture of my life, even I am confused about so many things. So first and fundamental thing which I wanted to share across is that it's okay to be confused. However, it's even more important to be moving in a direction. It's not okay to be confused and be stagnant. One has to keep trying and keep shifting towards something meaningful. The way things happen, it's not linear. It doesn't happen that if you score good marks in 12th, and then you score good marks in college, and then you land in a good job. It doesn't mean that the life is set. Life comes with its own vagaries, its own ways to throw anyone apart. So it's okay to be confused, but it's very important to be moving in certain direction. Second, what I really feel truly passionate about is also the fact that um, one should, and especially students who have had some kind of privilege, who have had some kind of safe upbringing, safe childhood, to really look into their own privilege and ponder over the question what they can do for the society. Because in a very like spiritual philosophical way, I really feel that it's very important to like leave the world at a better place than where one actually came in. So to take a look at like what exactly one can do within the constraints. I'm not saying that everyone has to do the social work, or everyone has to do things, do a sacrifice to do a meaningful work, but within the constraints, within the one own confines, it's really important to look into different ways of giving back to the society, especially to the ones who need it the most. And third thing I would really like urge and invite people to think of is how to not be distracted in this world. The current design of this world in this age of social media, a lot of technology, it's very easy to get distracted. One moment I feel like that I want to be an engineer. The second moment I see a travel influencer on Instagram, and I feel like that's the purpose which I am going to work towards. Uh, but it's and those distractions are going to stay, because there are like big companies, big multinationals who are pouring in money to keep people distracted. And in this noise, in this like hyper consumerism, it's very important to be try to be, at least not be distracted, be focused on something, practice mindfulness, be aware of what is happening, not just in one's own lives, but in like in lives of their near and dear ones. So yeah, these three is what I feel I can leave the young
Well,
people with.
it's been such a pleasure to listen to you, to get the reality on the ground, challenges and the difficulties, even in a premier place like Delhi, which has really no rural students at all, or has some, but still, very few rural students, basically urban. And when we think about large states with people living in remote areas, and the state has to have uniformity across, then how are they going to do it? Anyway, it's a great start. Somewhere we have to start, and then we have to think about how to take the replicable elements. When I said, is it replicable? I think what we should really think about it is which part of it is replicable, rather than to say, oh, it's not replicable. Let's say, come on, nothing is replicable. Which part of it is replicable? So,
Very
anything
true.
else you want to add here?
um Not much, but I would really want to leave the audience with one big question around, like the education system of which we all are part of, and it's affecting our life in more ways than another. To think of it that there are almost 26.5 crore school students right now in country, and all of these are going to become the future leaders, the nation builders of our country. Not just the country, they will become the global citizens. They will like move around. But is the current education system really helping them? Like, teaching them concepts of photosynthesis, teaching them where exactly coal deposits are in India, teaching them the summary of Christmas Carol. Is it really helping them? Versus, can the education system, can the ecosystem around education really help our students learn the ability to handle their emotions, really help them to put their perspectives without disrespecting others, help them to actually, like create the ability to bounce back from failures and things like that. So, that's one big question which kind of is guiding my life's mission also, that can we really aim to create an education system which is really helping our children, our young people, to grow into socially responsible, entrepreneurial, and uh, you know uh, knowledgeable individuals who have balanced perspective, who are caring, who are compassionate, and who are able to like who really strive to make this world a better place.
Yeah, and as an economist, let me add a perspective here, because let's discuss it a little bit. I see, that education everywhere now has become like an industrial product. We have economies of scale and we have economies of scope because we have large classes, one teacher, and we just have a fairly standardized approach so that we can have
Yeah.
mass production. We take these people, kids, 7, 8, 9 years old, because then we push them through a system which is fairly, industrial in the sense of mass production. We have an assembly line. Teachers do know what they are doing. They do help the students sometimes. In some schools, they aren't there also. But whatever it is, it's economical. The cost per
It is.
student is low, right?
Yes.
And that's because
Yes.
we don't introduce options and variations and stuff like that. We just say, okay, everybody go through this. Now, what you are thinking of is somewhat of an artisanal on a large scale method. Okay, that look, it is handcrafted, it is customized, it is individualized, not at one at a time, but at groups, right? Instead of saying
Yes.
everybody stand in one line, you say, I'm going to create several lines and I'm going
Yeah.
to let you stand in several lines. And I'm going to, at that point, of course, I'll still be somewhat industrial. I'll still let you go through this fine arts because I can't afford to teach you each one according to each one's need. But as a group, I'll still have some sense of mass production. But so, how do you think we can do it without a huge expense?
Three things, but all of them would require a more investment than what is currently pouring into the public education.
Right.
It's not that the current the current expenditure by governments across the spectrum is not going to help. So that's the disclaimer I wanted to put in.
Yeah.
But the first thing we really need to do is to really think about the teachers who are teaching in these schools, because ultimately inside the classroom, whatever curriculum we make, whatever assessments we design, it's the teacher inside the classroom which is shaping the lives of these individuals.
True.
Are
Absolutely.
these
Absolutely.
teachers trained enough? Are these teachers, are we focusing on training to make them teach only photosynthesis, how to deliver a photosynthesis concept better, or are we also helping them to become more open-minded? So if a
Yeah.
teacher is not open-minded, can we expect the teacher to also help students become open-minded?
Right.
First and foremost thing is to, and that will require a fair amount of investment. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
it can happen,
Yeah.
without. But focusing on the teacher it's one of the first and foremost thing. The second is to really revisit the curricular standards and really see, and not just revisit, but also see that what is missing when all the things which I talked about, most of these things are actually in the national education policy.
Yeah.
But given my experience, I think it will be another 2 or 3 decades for it to actually land inside the schools.
Yes.
Why? Because the policy has been designed by a set of people, like they are remarkable people. They have taken into a lot of consultation, but have they really gone inside the a government school in the remotest part of the country and help and asked a child what the child needs versus thinking what the child needs? So like putting putting from where the theory is to practice is where a sustained effort needs to come in, and that's where I think organizations play a lot of role. Like probably government's own capacity will be limited in that aspect, but there are many NGOs, many non-profits which are working in this domain where they will be able to assist government, where there needs to be an open-mindedness on both fronts, from the government end as well as the organization. And the
Okay.
third thing is to really decide on the outcomes of the education. Again, are we really teaching students so that they are able to pass a particular competitive exam? Are we teaching students so that they can memorize everything and they are able to write it in a 3 hour long examination, and then they're given a 2 digit mark, which kind of defines their future as they go forward? So to really craft the outcomes for the education so that it's meaningful for all. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not saying this lightly. I know it's a very,
No,
very
I know what
expensive and very
I know.
high stakes exercise.
I know you
It's not an
don't say
easy thing
anything,
to do.
Robin. I know you don't say anything lightly. Every word is
Yeah,
measured. We understand that,
yeah,
and I understand what you are saying. And I am certainly happy that somebody is thinking along these lines. Somebody is actually trying to make change. It's going to be a very tough job, as you rightly said. There's lots more money needed. If it doesn't come from government, it has to come from other sources. And I think you absolutely, I agree with you that uh, the government is a key player, but there have to be other players. As you said, in Delhi, there are so many other players coming in, so much other additional money. It just cannot work with the government money and the government approach, because you rightly, rightly means I agree with you that the teachers are the key. The curriculum, okay, big deal. But it's the teachers who frame the minds of these young people. It's the teachers who deal with them every day. It's their attitude, it's their behavior. And we read the reports of Acer and you see teacher absenteeism is such a rampant problem. And if they're not absent, they are just saying come for tuition at home. So it's really, but there are good teachers. I've heard many young people who came out of village and they are in top colleges in Delhi, and their teachers help them, even paid their fees. Uh,
yeah.
so we still have that uh, old-fashioned teacher as a teacher person, but now we are in mass production, and the teacher as a teacher is sort of vanishing because they are just curriculum comes through the teacher's head, goes into the student's notebook hopefully, and ends there. Okay, there's really, one has to think that there's just a holding place for the
Yeah.
student to pass through in mass. It's like a railway
Yeah.
station, platform is
There
there.
is hardly any construction of knowledge or like
Yeah, okay. So
creation of
good. You are
wisdom
making
inside.
the effort. You are making the effort. I'm very happy to hear it. And I think it's time I think you've said enough, unless you have something more you want to add.
No, that's all from my side.
Okay, good.
Thank you
So
so
thank
much.
you so much. And I'm really happy to see that there are bright young people younger than me making the effort. And I'm sure you will have some success. And Delhi is already, it's controversial. People, because of politics, don't want to accept that change has happened or not happened. But leave that aside. We understand that education is separate from politics. Right. And, all right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Let's end it here. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Bye till then. Bye, everybody.